standing your truth. Every voice matters, yeah, we see you. Love who you are, let the world know. This is your moment, let your light glow. More than a story, more than a name. We break the silence, rewrite the frame. Autism, neurodivergence, every mind shines bright. Mental health, self-love, stepping into the light. For the parents, the dreamers, the ones who push through, Auesomely you, we celebrate you. Oh, 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 oh. Auesomely you, we rise, we shine. Vowing voices, breaking the lines. This ain't just a podcast, this is a move. Celebrating every story, making room. For the ones who speak in ways they don't understand. For the hearts that love big, for the ones who take a stand. For the ones who see the world in a different way. We amplify your voice, let the world hear what you say. Every challenge, every win, every step you take. You are seen, you are loved, this is your space. No more silence, no more fear. Auesomely you, we're standing here. We are the voices, we are the change.
Hey, you guys, welcome back to Auesomely You. I'm your host and founder, Crystal Jordan, and today you already know we have another amazing guest here. And like I say in every episode, I want you guys to listen to her story, sit in her shoes for 30 minutes, and embrace her story, and get ready for an amazing ride on Auesomely You. Today we have Jennifer Briggs. She has a BA in English literature. She lives in Pittsburgh with her husband and 2 daughters. Her daughter Sarah has autism, and she has Sarah. When Sarah was 4, Jenny decided to run a sunrise program for her called Sarah Rise. It was a training at Autism Treatment Center of America. Without further ado, you guys, I'm super excited to introduce Miss Jennifer.
Thanks so much for having me.
No, thank you for being here. Thank you for being another mom who is embracing our kids' stories, and you writing books about your daughter, Sarah. But before we dive into what I know about you, let me have you introduce yourself to our audience.
Well, I go by Jenny to those who know me or when I introduce myself, but I wanted to sound more official. So my book is by Jennifer Celeste Briggs. My book is called Watching Sarah Rise, A Journey of Thriving with Autism. And it's about my journey of motherhood with Sarah, which started out as very, very challenging. She was diagnosed as failure to thrive. So I worked really hard to get her to eat enough to gain weight. We worked really, really hard to get her to learn to roll over, to crawl, to sit, to walk. And when she was 4, she was still not talking. And that's the point when I decided to go to the Autism Treatment Center of America and learn to run a sunrise program. And that week was amazing. And I learned how to work with Sarah more effectively, how to encourage language and eye contact and connection, all while supporting her, not forcing anything, following her lead, and how to set up a room that would help her focus, help me focus, how to find volunteers and train volunteers. So I ran that program for 5 years, and it was just one of the most incredible things that I've ever done with my life.
That's amazing. You ran that program for 5 years. What did you learn from those 5 years running that program?
I really, from the training and then through experience, I learned to really notice Sarah's signals for when she was ready to connect and when she was not, and how to give her the space and time that she needs. And I still have to remind myself that if I ask her a question or ask her to do something, I need to count to 20 or 30 in my head before I prompt again or ask again or give up on getting an answer. Because usually it's around that 20-second mark when I'm about to give up and thinking, oh, she's not going to answer. And then she does answer. So I really learned how to be patient and how to work with her interests to come up with games and work towards the goals that I had for her. Like I wanted her to be able to play games or interact more easily with those around her. I wanted her to be able to talk, and that happened, and that was amazing.
I love that. We have something similar here called Market Center. So that's amazing that you spent 5 years doing that. So I do want to get into your book because you are an author like me. I want to get into why you wrote the book. I know it's about your daughter, but what was the moment you knew that you was going to write this book and become an author?
It kind of happened gradually over many years. So at the beginning, I really wasn't thinking I was going to write a book. But when I started the program for Sarah, I started emailing my parents and best friends once a week saying, "Hey, this is what we're doing. This is what Sarah did this week." And over time, that email list grew. And then one of my friends said, "You should turn this into a blog." And he kept telling me that. So eventually I did. And then I started getting more and more people responding to me saying that what I was sharing was helpful. And it wasn't just people with kids with autism or special needs, it was everybody just being a human and dealing with difficult things. Because I'm very honest in my writing about my own emotional journey and the roadblocks that I hit and how I move through them. And then people kept saying, "When are you gonna write a book?" And I would sit down and I would try, and I felt totally overwhelmed. And then the 2020 pandemic happened, and I had time, and suddenly it seemed a little more clear. And it was still very overwhelming sometimes, and I needed a lot of help to get it from the beginning of where I started with writing to the finished product, but luckily I found that help.
I wrote my book during COVID too. I My son diagnosed in 2019. I wrote it. My book, I need him to be represented, but I wrote it during COVID. That's when I became an author. COVID for me, COVID is bittersweet because I did have a passing in my family due to COVID. But beyond that, COVID was the one time I was still. I learned how to drive during COVID. I wrote books during COVID. I exercised. COVID for me, besides that one thing, COVID was an amazing time for me. So I love hearing that you're an author and you had time to write your book during COVID. That is amazing, and I love to hear that. So my next question is, can you share can you share your journey and what led you to become an advocate in autism?
I think the reason I wrote the book and now like to talk about it and share about it, and I write weekly updates about my continuing journey, is really to connect with parents who might be feeling alone like I did in the early years. And I would be crying in my kitchen and feeling so hopeless and thinking, how are we ever going to get to where I wish we were? How are we going to get through this hard moment? When will we get to the time where we can look back at this time and laugh about how hard it was? And so I wanted to reach out and help parents who are feeling alone and also to share about the Sunrise program because it's an approach to helping people with autism and helping connect with them that is not so broadly known about. And so I wanted to help spread the word.
With your blog, do you feel like you encourage parents? And did you ever have any success stories? Reach out to you about you telling your story about your daughter, Sarah.
I've had lots of people reach out about different things and how my writing has helped or asking just how Sarah's doing maybe. The main thing I think that has been helpful is parents learning that they don't have to stop their kids' repetitive behavior, but that they can use that as the way to connect and to give their kids way more time. The whole 20-second counting in your head has helped many people.
Let's get into your book. So, my son has repetitive behavior. What strategies or framework do you have that parents can look out for to support your book and support you?
The main strategy in terms of meeting a kid where they are with the repetitive behavior is to join that behavior, meaning you're not quite copying, you're actually doing the behavior, not in a way that's crowding them, but at a respectful distance. Like Sarah really liked to open and close lids of Play Doh containers. And so I would sit across from her a few feet away and open and close a lid too without forcing. And we might do that for half an hour, and then she would look at me, and then that was my window to say something or teach her a word. And sometimes we would interact a lot, and sometimes we wouldn't interact a lot. And I trained the volunteers that helped to do that as well. So we had many, many hours of being with Sarah, joining her repetitive behaviors, and then building on those when she was ready. But I'm really shocked when I look back and think, oh, wow, we were silent with her for so much time. And that was actually what helped her learn to talk, because we weren't crowding, and our being with her was issuing an invitation for her to connect.
I love that. Because my son is nonverbal. He's 8, and I've been trying to figure out unconventional ways to have him talk. I have heard him talk before. This is gonna sound very crazy to other people. He talked in his sleep. He's having a nightmare. I think he was 4 at the time. He was either 4 or 5, and all he kept saying was, "I want my mommy. I want my mommy." That went on for 10 minutes.
Oh,
I looked at him and I said, "Is he really talking?" So I know he can talk. It's just he doesn't talk. That's how I know he can talk. Well, then he had another nightmare, like maybe months later, same thing. But every time he wakes up, he looked at me and stopped talking.
that is so interesting.
And when I tell you, it was crystal clear as can be. You know how when somebody's autistic, they start talking. I can use myself as an example. When I started talking, I sound like a robot. You know how when you start talking, you sound like a robot? He did not sound like a robot. He sounded how I talk today.
Wow.
I even heard him tell his teacher, "Hey," a couple of weeks ago. It was early in the morning. His teacher said, "Good morning, Zach." He said, "Hey." And then he went by his name. The teacher said, "You heard that?" I said, "I heard it loud and clear. Did you hear it?" I said, he could talk. So I love to hear what you did with Sarah. I brought it up because I like what you did with Sarah. You meet her where she's at. You met her where she was at. And for me, my son he stems vocally. So now it's funny he says that. I literally, if you don't know me, you'll think I'm mocking my child. But he don't pay me no attention. He be like, ah, I'd be like, ah. And I'd be like, ah. And I make the same noises as him. And it'd be so, he just look at me and go back to it. So I love that you found a way to connect, because a lot of people may get annoyed by the sounds or the noises or what they're doing, not understanding. They're still communicating. They're just not communicating how we communicate. I always say, just because they're non-speaking or non-verbal or non-vocal, whatever term you use for your household, don't mean they don't know how to communicate. We just have to be intentional and learn a new way to communicate. So with Sarah being nonverbal, and now that she's verbal, what is not tips, but what is advice you can give a parent that is praying that their kid become verbal?
Well, I would recommend that they connect to the Autism Treatment Center of America, and you can now learn to do sunrise programs either going in person for a week-long training or online, which is another benefit actually that came from COVID, is the ability to do the online training, because they teach you lots of different ways to support language. And that said, there's no guarantee. Not all kids do learn to speak, but if you give it a really good long shot, then maybe okay, if that didn't work, maybe it's time to try some different approaches, maybe signing or rapid prompting method. There are lots of different things out there. But I think the main thing that I kept coming back to, whether it was with Sarah speaking or learning to do like the wooden shape puzzles or jigsaw puzzles, is to remind myself that just because she can't do something today doesn't mean anything about tomorrow. Because if I was thinking, oh, if she can't get this jigsaw puzzle today, like she's just never going to get puzzles. But if I was feeling that way, then I was not going to be encouraging with her, and I was going to be frustrated and being pulled down by my own emotions. Whereas if I could stay really present and just say, oh, you know what? She's having trouble with the puzzle today, then I could be more present and more playful and just be with her. And now she can do jigsaw puzzles, really simple ones, but that's a skill I never, ever in a million years thought she would be able to do.
I love that you say that. I believe in celebrating the small things. Like, okay, he's getting there. Like, I never thought that my son be able to put his clothes on, his shoes, brush his teeth, just the basic independent things, and he's doing an amazing job. I even noticed he match now. That's why I think he know his colors, because I'm like, that match, and I'd be looking at him like, okay, you got it. But I love that you said that all autistic individuals are not going to be speaking, and I know the number is 40%, and I have met adults who are nonverbal, and I can always tell they have the ANC device, and I'm always communicating, and my heart goes out to them because God took my voice a couple years ago, and it was difficult to say the least. But I lose my voice every year around the same time for like a week at a time. I love it because it gives me the opportunity to reconnect with my younger self because I didn't talk. Um, it gives me the opportunity to give compassion for my son who is currently non-vocal. I really think he'll mute, but that's another conversation. Um, and it gives me compassion to for people who are not speaking as me or speaking like you. So my next question is: with you being a mom and an author, what next book are you working on that you think would be for the community to push your mission when it comes to advocating for Sarah and autism?
Mm. Wow, I think the biggest thing is just that allowing kids or adults who do repetitive behaviors to do those repetitive behaviors. They're not in the way of connection. And I think a lot of times a lot of approaches are trying to shut that down. And really, the best way to show someone you love them is to allow them to do those things because that's how they're taking care of themselves. So for Sarah, she loves to talk about certain subjects over and over and over, and she wants me to say exactly the certain words that she wants me to say. And so the best way to support her and show her that I love her is to do that. And then it can turn into something more if I really connect and am present, which the other way then for anyone to support their loved ones on the autism spectrum is really to get help for themselves. I have needed so much support as a parent to look at my own feelings and my own emotional junk so that I can be clear for Sarah and creative and present. And it is an ongoing journey, and I still need support from all different people and places, and to allow myself to have feelings about the difficult situations with her, and that it's not always easy, even with all the ways I know to support her. Sometimes it's really hard, and we clash and we fight, and I feel crappy afterwards. And it's important to let myself feel crappy and have a good cry in the kitchen if I need to. And then I can come back and be clear and present with her.
I love that. I love that so much. And so far, you're one of my favorite interviews because, again, we have so much in common. From us both being authors and us both pushing autism awareness, well, acceptance, and really pushing this mission on our kids' story. And me and you are making. I have not cried on the episode yet, but me and you are making an impact, and we're not the typical autism moms. We are the moms that are sacrificing ourselves and our kids' diagnosis to impact thousands of other parents, caregivers, and our kids. So I'm a very sensitive person. I have learned that on my journey of me being a media personality. I'm always somewhere crying. But my next question is to not have me cry is, can you share a small win that felt like a big victory in your journey? I'm gonna go first. I think a small win for me that's big in my son's journey is I finally found him a speech therapist. That small to somebody else, big to
No,
me.
that's huge. To find someone that you really like and that works with your kid is so big. Absolutely. I think, for me, actually, the small win that felt so huge was when I got back from my first week of training at the Autism Treatment Center of America, and because of our feeding difficulties with Sarah when she was little and trying to get her to gain weight, and I thought that I was encouraging her communication, when she would ask for food, like, she would do a sign like that, which is the sign for milk, and that was how she meant milkshake, and she would go, "Mm." And I was so used to leaping into action because it was like, "Oh, you want food? I am getting you food right now. You are expressing anything, I am gonna act." And when I got back from my training, I suddenly realized that I needed to actually be a little slower. So I gave her my full attention right away, and I said, "Oh, you want a milkshake? Can you try saying the whole word?" And then I waited, and she said, "Mm, k, sh, k." And then I leapt into action and ran around and got her a milkshake, and it was that moment where I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is gonna work. This is gonna come together. This is gonna make a difference just by me asking a little differently and interacting with her differently."
I love that you said that because that also resonated with me too. Because very similar to your story, my son was 3. At this point, I said he don't understand. So he had one of my phones, and I said, "Stop, Zach! Bring me my phone now." He stopped in his steps, turned around, looked at me. He put the phone in my hand and walked away. And from that moment, I knew that my child understood me. But I actually forgot about that moment until you just mentioned that moment because it's so small. But that's when I learned. I wasn't an advocate yet, but that's when I learned. Just because they're nonverbal, don't mean they don't understand. I tell people that all the time. Like your kid is nonverbal, but your kid can hear you. They probably can talk, but we don't know that yet. I always say that to give people hope. But okay, so now we're going to change the subject. We're going to go into you. How do you practice self care while advocating for yourself or others?
All sorts of ways. I go for walks with friends. I talk to my mom every weekday. That was something that started in the middle of running the Sarah Rise program when I was really having some struggly days and struggly emotions. And we realized that it really helped me to talk to her. It could be 5 minutes, could be half an hour. I could be telling her about going to get groceries or my deepest thoughts about life or my frustrations, and she is loving and present and listening. And she also really catches me when I start to get too idealistic and too hard on myself to be perfect. And she will remind me that maybe I can go for being a mediocre mom instead of a perfect mom. I am part of a parenting support group run by someone who is really behind this way of taking responsibility for our own stuff, looking at our own beliefs and what might be getting in the way of us being present with our kids. Like if I'm walking around believing I'm a bad mom, I'm actually not going to be as good a mom as if I think I'm a good mom, because then I'm weighted down by these emotional bricks. So that support group is for parents who want to have the same approach with their kids as I do with Sarah, and that's been really, really helpful.
I need you to tell me I want you to talk about that support group because I think that can really help the awesome tribe because we all need that. Even I need that. I used to walk, and I agree with what you said. I used to walk around thinking I'm not a good mom because he don't have certain services. When I started to let that go and just pour into me, I became a better mom. I was already a good mom. It was imposter syndrome that most parents deal with that we don't talk about. that parents can have imposter syndrome as well. So I really want you to touch briefly on that a support group for we can have it in our show notes.
Yeah, it's run by Autism Optimism International, specifically by Jack Mason Goodall. And the group is called the Empowered Parenting Circle. And it's people from all over the world. A lot of them are in England, but then there's me in the US. And it's a year-long thing. And we talk at least once a month. I think maybe it's twice a month, depending on people's schedules, and everyone gets a moment to talk about what they are dealing with, and then we kind of change each meeting of who maybe brings something more specific, but then everybody learns that everyone can relate to whatever they're going through and can share ideas.
I really love that because we need that. You have so many people in the community that don't have support. They don't have anybody to talk to. So to hear about that community is amazing. Is it a free community?
No, it's something that you pay to be part of, and the space is limited, but parents can also get support through the Autism Treatment Center of America. You can have a consultation, still paid, but you can have a consultation with an expert in the Sunrise program and say, "Hey, here's the situation that I'm dealing with. What should I do?" And they help you look at your own feelings and have ideas for your kid. There's also uh, an organization called the Safe to Connect approach, run by Kate Wild, who is a specialist in this loving, supportive way of connecting with kids with autism, and by Ron Kaufman, who was the original Sunrise son for whom the program is named. And he transformed so fully from people telling his parents to put him in an institution and assuming he was deaf because he had such a hard time interfacing with his world, to then really being very comfortable interacting with people. And he was able to go to mainstream school after his parents ran a program for 12 hours a day for 3 years intensively.
Mm, I'm gonna. Don't worry, Awesome Tribe. I'm gonna get all the information she just said, put in the show notes because everything you said is needed. And I believe that we as parents should invest in ourselves to be the best parents we can be for our amazing, awesome kids. So now it's time to get into some fun. This is the Auesomely Fun Keep It Real segment. So because we are in June, I want to ask some new questions because why not? You ready? Describe yourself in a hashtag. It's quick, fun, and social media friendly. So if you was a hashtag, what would it be and why? It must be quick.
A little bit of a goof,
That's your hashtag.
I guess. I don't know. It's hard to come up with something in such short notice.
I love it. That's the reason why I don't show you guys the question right away because I want it to be fun. Okay. The next one is your theme song for life. Okay. So what song would you play every day when you walk in the room? A theme song. It can be any song.
Oh gosh. Um there's one that has the "Ain't nothing gonna slow me down. Ain't nothing gonna break my stride. Ain't nothing gonna slow me
I know. I
down.
think I know
Oh
that.
no, I've got to keep on moving."
I don't know. Oh my god, that sounds so familiar.
Although I don't know that that's me. That's what my theme song has always been for my youngest daughter from when she was little. She was just so full of energy and sunshine, and was going to crawl anywhere no matter what.
Okay, so I'm gonna give you another one. You just did that one. So, all right. Describe your day in 3 words. A quick snapshot of your vibe. 3 words.
For today itself,
Yeah. Yep. For
specifically,
today.
relaxed, frustrating, and hilarious.
Okay, those are all three different emotions. Those are all three different emotions. That is hilarious. Okay, alrighty. So before I get into my wrap up question, I want you to tell the audience where they can purchase your book, where they can find you and follow you on social media, and also about your website.
My website is watchingsarahrise.com. My book is called Watching Sarah Rise: A Journey of Thriving with Autism. It's available on Amazon, through Barnes and Noble, Simon and Schuster, Bookshop. It's available as an audiobook or a Kindle e-reader. And on Facebook and Instagram, you can find me as Jennifer Celeste Briggs, author.
Okay. And do you have any special offers today for the audience that you want to share or no?
Well, if anyone does buy my book and then sends me a message through my website saying that they heard about it through this podcast, and if they give me their address, I can send them a signed book plate.
I love that. So my final thing is before we wrap up, I would love for you to share affirmation that our listeners and audience can take away from today's conversation, something that reminds them to embrace their uniqueness.
I would say just give yourself time to be with yourself and pay attention to you the same way that you would do for a loved one or your child, who is also a loved one, of course.
Right now, I want you to repeat that affirmation for the listeners can say it out loud and say it to themselves.
I am here for you and I'm listening.
I love that affirmation. I love asking that question because I get so many different affirmations from the guests, and everybody's affirmations are so different. And I think it's an amazing way to wrap up the episodes because they are sitting in your shoes for 30 minutes. And I want them to, when they at the end of the episode, I want them to say the affirmation and then support you. So before we wrap up, you guys, you already know I always say I want you guys to support the guest. So I want you guys to buy her book. I want you guys to follow her on social media. But I also want you guys to like, comment, and subscribe, and also write a review on this episode. If you want to bring her back, let's do that because I'm probably going to bring her back for probably another season because she was amazing to have. And I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Until next time, I'm your host, Crystal Jordan, and thank you for listening to and watching Auesomely You magazine, Auesomely You podcast. Yeah, I have a magazine too, so yeah. Thank you for being here, Miss Jenny.
Thanks for having me.
You're so welcome.
We rise, we shine, vowing voices, breaking the lines. This ain't just a podcast, this is a move. Celebrating every story, making room. For the ones who speak in ways they don't understand, for the hearts that love big, for the ones who take a stand, for the ones who see the world in a different way. We amplify your voice, let the world hear what you say. Every challenge, every win, every step you take, you are seen,